Thank you all for joining, like I just said, and this is the YCharts webinar series for YCharts for advisors, building and presenting portfolios that win new clients. Now, a recording of this webinar is going to be provided to everyone who registered after the fact, so no worries about internalizing every single thing mentioned. You'll be able to click into it, rewind, fast forward, and cover everything in greater detail. Now, additionally, I do have to note that all of the YCharts webinars are great to click into, so please keep an eye out for all of the webinars that are upcoming, and you can always reference any past webinars in the support tab in your YCharts account. Some background on myself: my name is Ariel Kutcher, and I'm an account executive here at YCharts. So I work with our advisors to elevate and optimize their investment research process and also elevate their client communications. My team of account executives and I take a consultative approach. So we work with advisors to make sure that YCharts is doing everything possible to make sure they're getting the most value out of the platform and really getting the most out of their own investment process. And we have a really packed agenda for today, so I'm excited to jump in and start digging in. And just to cover at a high level what we're going to cover for this webinar, we're going to highlight how you can present portfolios and investment strategies with YCharts to your clients and prospective clients. We're going to do that covering our reports functions, our charting functions, and even noting our FINRA-reviewed reports. So if your organization requires a FINRA seal of approval, we can cover some of that as well. And we'd also be happy to answer any of the questions on anything covered here today after the fact. So please take note of the Q&A section within the Zoom meeting, because that's going to be a great place for you to start clicking into, asking your questions, which I'll make sure to get to either throughout the presentation or afterwards if I haven't covered them. Now, we'll also be talking through fine-tuning your investment strategy using automated high horsepower research tools. So within that, we're going to cover how to research both mutual funds, ETFs. We can briefly touch on individual equities as well, but show how YCharts and the variety of different tools that we offer can help you with the investment research side of your practice. Now, lastly, alternatively to some of the more formal style of reporting and portfolio communications, we're going to cover how to share market insights and cover how you can communicate the more topical, trendy, and relevant content that's going on in the market to show your clients that you're on top of it and make sure they feel like their money is safe with you. Now, again, we're going to be covering a Q&A, but just to cover my own personal workflow for today, just so you can keep it in mind as we go through, I'm going to start off on a portfolio that I've built within YCharts, show you off some of the communication tools. Then we're also going to work towards some of the more nuanced tools within YCharts, like stress testing and holdings analysis. Once we've analyzed our holdings, we're going to identify some of my more lagging investments and then find a replacement using the tools within YCharts to optimize our overall portfolio strategies. Then we're going to cover all of the different tools that you can use within YCharts to cover market concepts and make sure that you're using the full suite of functionality that YCharts has to offer. So let's jump right in. Shifting over to my portfolio, now that we're in the YCharts platform, this is what a portfolio looks like within YCharts. Now, taking you through some of the tools within this portfolio page, you can scroll through and track your performance against a custom benchmark. So in this case, I have a 60-40 benchmark to more appropriately match my allocations. Going through, I can do simple things like shifting over my time frame for returns, or maybe I can really customize the page as well. As you see, I have these key stats listed out here, but YCharts is incredibly intuitive and customizable. So if I prefer a different set of metrics to appear when I pull up a portfolio, I can hover over any of the metrics that I might not like or might be less relevant for my portfolio and swap them out from any of the other metrics that we have to offer. I can also look through my allocations, my risk information, as well as my return info. It'll also include a newsfeed on my holdings, which is pretty nice. Then as I go through, I can dig into each one of the concepts that we briefly touched in on, but go through it a little more thoroughly using the tabs listed up top here. So for one, I can go through my performance, digging through not only that same performance visual we covered on the initial page, but then also periodic performance, annualized performance, and one of my personal favorites, the upside downside capture ratios. Then I can dig through my allocations. So not only that asset allocation that we covered, but also the geographic exposure, the market cap breakdowns, the sector exposures for both bonds and stocks, as well as some other key data points like style exposures, credit quality, and maturity. Of course, we can look at our holdings, But one of the new releases that we've had at YCharts is not only digging into your holdings, but the holdings overlap. Utilizing the holdings overlap, you can dig into the underlying holdings within your holdings to see what you're really most invested in under the hood, especially if your clients are calling you up asking questions about, big name equities like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, but your portfolio is primarily mutual funds and ETFs. You can use a tool like this to communicate what's really going on and how your more diversified approach is better for them. Now, we'll also cover some of the fundamental charting tools available, but before that, I want to cover some of the reports. Now, everything that we just covered on this portfolio page, we can break down in a more formalized, customized report. Within the reports tool, you'll have two different options as it stands between types of reports to run. You'll have comparison reports, which is more of a head-to-head style report, and an overview report, which will cover on your portfolio or your portfolio against the benchmark. Now, as you can see within both of these reports, or both of these report options, you have the option to click into FINRA-reviewed. So if that's something that your firm requires, please reach out to your customer success manager and get those reports added to your account. That way you can start showing those to clients. But for this presentation here, I'm going to hit home on the comprehensive overview report. Now, let's say you're meeting with a client and you want to break down how your portfolio is done against the benchmark using a wide variety of topics to make sure you take a comprehensive look through your portfolio. You can say, prepared for client, generate the report with all of your information, and it's good to go from there. Now, one thing I'll note about these reports, this one happens to be one of the longer reports, but each one of the YCharts reports are customizable, not only in length, order, and content, but also, as you might be noticing here, I have a logo built in, Launchpad Wealth Management. And as I go through, the color scheme that's built into this report matches my logo. So we can fully customize your report to be co-branded so that each one of your reports is super specific to your firm. Now, as I go through some of the pages in this report, I'll highlight some of the most popular modules. So first, we'll start off with a growth of 10K over 10 years. Pretty simple and easy to explain for any client. Then we'll break down periodic returns, annualized returns, key stats, which again are customizable. I can look through my asset allocation, my market cap breakdowns, sector breakdowns, geographic exposures, holdings, and all of that great asset allocation information that we just covered on the website, but now in a client-friendly report. Even coming down to risk information, your alpha, your betas, your standard deviation, broken out over different time frames, as well as a drawdown chart that's become super popular with our clients. And then breaking down my holdings, as well as that holdings overlap that we just went through, but now in a formalized report, including even a customizable disclosure section if your firm requires or prefers it. Now, this is one of the single portfolio reports that we covered. But now, to highlight a different style of report, we can also go into the side-by-side. Now, as I'm sure many of you are aware, oftentimes a prospective client will hand you a statement and want to know how your portfolio is different than what they're currently in, but also why your portfolio is better for them. So to help you win new business, we designed these comparison reports that will allow you to break down your portfolios side by side so you can identify where your portfolio is better for your prospective client than where they're at. So we have the same long form reports available, but for now, I'll hit home on a 3-page report so you can see what maybe some of the shorter reports look like. You can plug their portfolio right into YCharts. So I have my John Smith's portfolio here. I'll say prepared for John Smith, and then generate the report from here. Once generated, it'll pull down in the same way, have my logo in the same fashion, and now breaking down these two portfolios against each other and my benchmark as well. If you want to, you can also choose to not include the benchmark. So breaking down this report here, it's going to cover a lot of that same content, just a lot less of it if you wanted to keep it more concise and digestible for your prospective client. So returns, key stats. Now that asset allocation is broken down side by side, so you can easily pinpoint where they're overweighted, underweighted, and now your portfolio is better suited for them, as well as the top holdings. But again, I'll reiterate that each one of these reports are fully customizable. So if you liked pieces of the other report and you wanted it in this report or wanted to cut down the other report and create your own real customized report, we can do that for you. So please reach out to your customer success manager if you did want to create a more customized report. Now, breaking down some of the charting functions. Now, this is a really great way to also visualize the same level of data, but do so in a more dynamic, customizable way. So if I wanted to even break down my portfolio against that same portfolio, I can do so within the charting tool. It's all predictive search. So as you just saw, within a click, I can pull in a different portfolio. I can change my time frame and really build out a custom visual this way. But rather than creating a few customized visuals for you right now within the charting tool, I'd like to shift gears a little bit and highlight one of my favorite tools within YCharts, which is our quick flows functionality. Now over here on the right-hand side, it's really even sometimes easy to miss if you don't know it's there. And if I click into it, you'll see a whole library of different workflows that's already populated for me. So in a nutshell, what quick flows is a customizable way for you to jump from one tool to another, but it will relate back to whatever it is you're currently looking at. So all of these workflows are customized for my portfolio. Now, just to give you one quick look, if I were to instead plug in a stock, there will be stock workflows in here. And if I were to pull in an ETF, there'll be ETF workflows in here. So it's a really great tool to analyze whatever it is you're looking to analyze. But jumping back to my portfolio, we can check out a few of these. And what's really great about quick flows is it will pull you into each one of our different tools so that you can jump from one thing to another really easily. So hitting home on coronavirus crisis, because that's where a lot of people's eyes go to first naturally. I can click into that and it's going to automatically stress test my portfolio, highlighting the drawdowns of my portfolio against major indices from February till today. And what's nice about this too is it's got my logo and color scheme already built into it. Now, same goes for if I wanted to quickly shift gears and go into the interest rate spike of 2013. It'll pull my portfolio into this scenario test. But each one of these are able to be customized too. So if you're looking at this and you're looking at the 2013 rate spike of a 10K investment on my portfolio versus the Barclays Ag, factored against the rising rates of 2013, I can also maybe pull this back and look at the last year, cut out the title, and maybe add in something current, like the US inflation rate, and build my own customized visual, highlighting the US inflation rate against the 10-year Treasury rate against my portfolio. I can also change the data format and have that built in to show the rate spike and how my portfolio is really interacting against it. In this case, looks like my portfolio is doing pretty well. So a great piece to share with clients and show them that their money is safe, even though the environment and the market conditions are shifting. And if you like this visual, you can always download it down straight from YCharts. Maybe you'd add a new title in here too. But it's pulled up now, optimized to be shared in a PowerPoint, in a slide deck, in a newsletter, a blog, or even just an email. But we'll cover more of the visual side of YCharts too in a bit. I'd like to shift gears and look at how my holdings are doing and see if there's anything that we could potentially be doing better. Now I'm going to reference quick flows again and look at this middle section, the holdings analysis. Now, what I really love the holdings analysis for is to be able to click through them and look at my holdings from a few different lenses. So first, I can get in and maybe look at the risk metrics associated with my holdings. It's going to break down my holdings based off of a set of popular risk metrics. So build a table now, looking at my holdings and my portfolio, which is listed towards the bottom here alphabetically, and show me how each one of my holdings are doing. So I can see, I can note who has a lower alpha than I might want, or maybe a higher beta than I might want, or even pull in a set of different metrics that I want to see alongside these, potentially like my 5-year category rank for returns. I can pull in and identify, maybe this is a red flag here, looking at that high category rank. I can also look at my expense ratio ranking category, and maybe actually also pulling in the expense ratio itself too. So the quick flows are a great jumping off point, but you can always add in whatever other angle you'd like to consider. Now looking at this, not only do we see a poor 5-year rank on this specific fund, a high expense ratio, and maybe not the best alpha, we can note all of that and shift gears in our analysis. Look at holdings calendar year returns, for instance. Now this is going to pull us into our time series analysis tool, where I can look through and see how each one of my holdings are doing year over year. Now I can pinpoint, when my portfolio is doing great, when it was doing not so great, and who were my worst performers when the not so great times came. After identifying the next step in my evaluation, I can continue, and I'm sure you'd find value out of continuing to click through more and more of these, but I'm going to finish off on the basic info breakdown, only to show you that within each one of these comp tables or time series analysis, if you like the story that this table is telling, you can also use this as a visual and download this to PDF straight from our comp tables tool. You want to make sure that it fits the exact number of columns that are good for this one. Then once you're down to the right number, you can download it straight to PDF and it's good to go from there. Maybe I'll call this my webinar comp table, for lack of a better name on the spot. Download it down and it'll pull in as a visual for me with my logo ready to go. I can also look through other disclosure information as well. But after looking through a few of these, we've maybe identified that this is the fund that we need to take a look at further. Now, when evaluating a fund, we can look through its page and see, at a first glance, it's pretty similar to the portfolio pages. But then looking through, we're going to see some other interesting modules to look through. So one of my favorites is to go through and look at the fund flow data, seeing how much money is coming in of or going out of a fund over different timeframes. So we can see here that, like the return and expense numbers that we were able to identify, money's been coming out of this fund pretty consistently over the last 10 years. I can click over to its performance and I can see how it's performed against its peers. And if you ever want to edit out these peers, just so you know, you can always hit edit comparables and swap out anything that you think might, not be there or anything that you'd like to add in there. But we can see that through evaluating its peers, it's also at the bottom of its peer class. So not a great look as well. Maybe this is where we're going to go in and find a replacement for this fund, which is a great example of some of the research workflows within YCharts. Now that I open up quick flows again, you'll notice that they're fund specific now. So a few options for fund replacement. There's find lower cost alternative, find similar fund, even a fund family evaluation. One of my favorites is this find fund ranked in category. So I'm going to click into that one. By clicking into that, it's going to build out a screener for us, but it's going to identify the same category of the fund that we're looking at. So it's going to find us a relevant replacement, and it's only going to pull up the top funds based off of 1 year, 3 year, 5 year returns, expense ratio, Sharpe, and alpha. So it's going to do that brunt work for us, building out the screener. And now that it's built out, we can look through and see some of the top options for us. Now we can go ahead and add additional filters on top of these. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove duplicates. That way there's only one of each share class for these funds. And then we're going to wait for that to load up, and I'm going to take a look through some of the questions that we have here. David thinks that I should slow down, so I'm going to take a slow down. And just to review, as we're waiting for this to load up, what we've covered so far is we were able to evaluate a portfolio. We looked through some of the data within the portfolio page, like performance, allocations. We looked through its holdings and the holdings overlap. Then we ran reports, like an overview on our single portfolio, and ran a head-to-head on our portfolio against a competitor's portfolio. After that, we stress tested against a few different types of market conditions. Then we evaluated our holdings, looking at a returns perspective, a risk perspective, and factoring other ideas like category ranks and expense ratios. Once we evaluated a fund that we were looking to replace, like the BNY Mellon fund that we clicked into, we then launched into our screening tool, utilizing our quick flows functionality to find a relevant replacement. Now that we've done that, we can look through and see, based off of this category, looking through 1 year, 3 year, 5 year returns, expense, Sharpe, and alpha, what a relevant alternative would be for us. Now, looking through this short list of 20 funds, we can start to look through them each one by one to find a replacement. But instead of going through and evaluating them one by one, I'd like to show off one of my favorite functions within YCharts, which is our scoring models tool. Looking through scoring models, it's a way to create a customized ranking system based off of whatever metrics that you specifically might want to look at. When jumping into scoring models, you can select anything that you want, any kind of metric that you might see in YCharts that you want to create a ranking system off of. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to call this my advisor webinar sample. Now, to just throw out some popular fund options for us, I'm going to hit home on alpha, beta, max drawdown, 1-year returns, 5-year returns. So this popular metrics section makes it really easy to select some of the most popular options. But anything else that you might want, like say a max manager tenure, you can just search right up into. Now I'll submit that. And the only thing that you need to do once creating a scoring model of your own, you can just select the kind of logic that you want built into it. So basically, you'd want lower for risk metrics, higher for return metrics. So we want a higher alpha, a lower beta, a lower max drawdown, returns higher, tenure higher. By doing so, we can then weight them out based off of the level of importance we want to give each one of these metrics. So let's say we want the alpha and beta to be weighted out 15%. Maybe the drawdowns, we'd want 10%. The returns, let's say 25% each. And then manager tenure, 10%. So not saying this is the perfect formula to bring in, but you can really give it, the level of importance that you want to see when evaluating funds in your way. I'll add in the score column, and it's going to take that weighted perspective and that weighted breakdown of funds and apply it to this list of 20 funds that we have here. Now it's going to take a second to think here. And it's going to pull up for us. So we'll give this a second to think, and I'll look at some of the questions here. And for Michael, yes, you can define share classes. So if I go up to modify, you'll see under share class, you can go into either US or Canadian share classes, and you can choose to exclude them or intersect them. So basically, if you want to see only a share class or none of the A share class, you can select what you'd like to see there. Now, as I go through here, we'll see that this scoring model has been built out, and I'm just going to sort that list so that it's top to bottom for us. Now, after evaluating this, we can see that this Morgan Stanley fund is the #1 option for us. So I can click into this and take a look through this fund. Now, at a high level, we can see as I scroll through, looks like the fund flows are telling the opposite story that the other fund was showing. So rather than money coming in, rather than money going out, money is coming into this fund specifically. Now, as I go through as well, I can cover all that same information we did, but I'm going to skip ahead and I'm going to go straight to the fundamental chart tool. When doing so, I'm actually going to even cut out the benchmark, and I'm going to plug in the fund that we were looking at earlier and see how they compare against each other. Look at it from a long-term horizon. And by taking a quick look at this, we can see that the fund that we quickly identified as a better fund in its category actually is. So it's way outperformed over the last 5 years. And what I'd like to do as well is look at the drawdowns. Now, when looking at the drawdowns, we can see that not only was it a better performing fund, but as both of these funds dip along the same plane, the Morgan Stanley fund that we found actually dips a lot less harshly. So not only was it a better performing fund, but it's one that takes on less risk, it seems to. So a great way, in a nutshell, to research funds within YCharts. Now, referencing the screener one more time, I'd just like to note a couple of things. Of course, you can always start from scratch building out a screen. You don't always have to go into a workflow replacing a specific fund. Now, when doing so, you can select a different category if you'd want to, but you can also look through all of the different options like category, style, asset class, even brokerage availability, as well as overlaying any filters that you'd specifically like to see. Not only these category rank filters, but, developing filters with any of the metrics that we offer through YCharts. Now, heading back to the charting tool, another thing that I'd want to hit home on is all of the templates that we have available within YCharts. Now, I know within a short webinar, we cover a lot pretty quickly, but when going into your own YCharts system, you can reference a lot of these types of analyses looking into any of the templates we have already pre-built into YCharts. So clicking into the title of any tool that we have, for instance, new fundamental chart, I can click into new from template. Now, within the template, you'll see a whole library of different charting ideas that we have already built in. Maybe something like the 10-2 treasury spread against the S&P 500. I can open that up, and it's going to build exactly that out for me. Same goes for if I go from new from template and go into something like an equity chart. I can hit home on major cable companies, e-commerce stocks, and it's going to build right out for me. And within each one of the templates, it highlights a different type of analysis within YCharts. So in this case, it's showing you how to overlay different financial metrics and panel it out by financial metric rather than in a single panel view. So I always love looking through the metrics and the templates. That way you can highlight some other uses of the tool that you might not have been totally aware of. Same goes for in the fund screener. If I hit new from template, you'll see a whole library of templates like best performing ETFs, fixed income securities, most inflows, and really a whole variety of different options for you to start digging into. Now, along the same style of thinking, you can also not only reference quick flows, which is pre-built content, templates, which is pre-built analysis ready for you to go, but you can also reference the YCharts blog, which I can access either by going to support topics, which you can find right in here and clicking into the YCharts blog, or you can always just Google YCharts blog and it'll take you here. What I love about the YCharts blog is that it's basically a whole library of pre-made content for you to share with your clients. Now, as an advisor, your day is probably spent doing a whole number of different things, spent trying to maximize your time. So you might not always have the time to think of the most thought-provoking current content to put out. Now that's where the YCharts marketing team comes in, and they do an excellent job highlighting whatever's going on in the market, but putting it into a visual and easy to understand way. As I scroll through, you'll see different ideas in here, like an earnings playbook, monthly market wrap-ups, upcoming IPOs to watch. And each one of these you can click directly into. And by the way, definitely recommend subscribing to the blog. You can click right into it and see what the YCharts team has come up with from a written content wise and also a visual content wise. So as I go through and I see something like, oh, this chart here breaking down US housing is pretty interesting. I think my clients will like it. I can hit modify in YCharts and it'll take this visual, pull it directly into my YCharts account and actually add my logo to it. That way I can use it for a communication tool with my clients. So pretty neat the way that you can just get in there and take the content that the YCharts team has put together. Now, on top of that as well, we also put out economic summary decks that are also really great to go through. Now, these are going to go out to all of our clients every quarter. So if you're already a YCharts client, this is a great place for you to reference and look through things like market data, key stock market performances, sector performance, asset class performance. Now, while all of this is really excellent, that it comes out on a quarterly basis, it's also really great to use as an example of the type of content that you'll be able to make for yourself within YCharts. Not only just on the asset class side, but also macroeconomic indicators, housing market data, dollar strength, even current topics like as we covered inflation and gold, dollar strength, crypto data. So I definitely recommend looking through this, which you can also access in the support topics tab under presentation materials. Now, the last couple things that I'll note for you is within YCharts, you can also build custom content utilizing our Excel add-in. Now, within the Excel add-in, we can also build it for you utilizing our in-house Excel engineering team, but we can build out types of content that's not so easy to do directly on the website, like an entire comprehensive market update. Now, anything that's in the website is data that we have access to and that you'll have access to. Using the Excel add-in, we can link all of that data directly to Excel to create whatever custom template or format you'd like to view that data in. Now, in this case, we're looking through asset class, regional snapshots, style snapshots, sector breakdowns, sector summaries, and so on. So I just quickly go through this because I think this is one of my personal favorite examples of the power of the Excel add-in. The last thing I'll touch on for you guys is highlighting the dashboard, which is a great home base that you can create for yourself within YCharts, using it as a tracking and a monitoring environment to track whatever it is that you want to stay on top of. On my dashboard, I have the different portfolios I like to stay on top of, different indices, different categories of funds, and so on. Now, while here, I think this is a great place to dig right into the Q&A. So looking at the first question here, looks like Allison is typing, but is this session for users using the professional version only. So we covered, different tools throughout this whole webinar. Some are through the professional version, some through the standard version. So if you ever have questions on, what's included and what you can find the most value out of, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to give you a thorough breakdown. Now, looking through any of the other questions. Looking through and referencing, someone asked if we could highlight this session recorded so that you can go through it at your own pace. Definitely, a recording of this session is going to be sent out to everyone who registered for it and also available on the YCharts website. So unless there are any other questions, that covers everything that I had to cover today. So please reach out to your YCharts customer success manager if you're a client and wanted to go into further detail on anything that we had covered here today. Or if you're not a current client, please reach out for a free trial or for a more personalized look at YCharts. Someone on our team would be happy to take you through everything that we covered here today, but answering all the questions that you have and doing it in a much more personalized way. So thank you all so much for your time and really appreciate it.